Welcome to our first episode of Students plus Math plus Art equals Smart. We need a pencil. Necesitaremos un lápiz. We need a marker, preferably red. Necesitaremos un marcador que es rojo. We need scissors. Necesitaremos tijeras. We need paper. Necesitaremos papel. We need a ruler. También vamos a necesitar una regla. Last but least, we need our math journal. Vamos a necesitar nuestro diario de matemáticas. Okay, today we are going to make the flag of Washington, D.C. So the first thing we're going to take out is our math journal. We're going to make a quick sketch of the flag of Washington, D.C. to help us plan and then to help us make sure that we have the right sizes. So we know that our flag is a rectangle. So let's just draw a quick rectangle. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just going to give us an idea of what we need to do. Okay. We also know that the flag of Washington, D.C. has 2 bars in it. So that's 1 bar. And then I'm going to make another bar. Now, my flag isn't perfect, but we'll make it perfect in our final project. And so the thing about these bars, they are parallel, but we'll talk a little bit about that later. And the flag of Washington, D.C. has 3 stars in the middle. 1, 2, and 3. So that's our sketch. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just gives us an idea of what we're going to create. Just to give us a better idea of what our sketch needs to look like, we're just going to roughly color in the stars red. It doesn't have to be a perfect color job, but just to give us an idea. And we're also going to color in the 2 bars. I'll start with the bottom bar. And like I said, this part does not have to be perfect. And I'll also color the top bar. Okay, more or less, that is the flag of Washington, D.C. Because we are great math students as well as artists, we're going to use some of our math vocabulary. The shape of the flag is a rectangle. So let's write that down. Rectangle. And let's take it to the next level and say rectangle in Spanish. Rectángulo. Oops. Rectángulo. Rectangle in English, rectángulo in Spanish. Now I'm going to give you the dimensions for your rectangle, which is your flag. And we're going to make our project. It's going to be 8 inches, or 8 pulgadas, by 5 inches. Or in Spanish, 5 pulgadas. Using our full sheet of paper, we're going to measure our paper on the long side 8 inches. So I have the 0 starting exactly at the edge of the paper, and I'm going to go all the way to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to make a little mark right here. And that's going to help me to know how wide my flag is going to be. Lining my ruler up to the top edge of the paper, making sure the 0 is all the way on the edge. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to count all the way over to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I'll put a little mark there to help me. Now the dimensions of our paper are 8 inches by 8.5 inches, which was the original width of the paper. So we're just going to use the 8.5 inches side and measure to 5 inches, and we'll make the mark at 5 inches on both the top and the bottom. Ready? Sydney's going to help me mark 5 inches at the bottom and then 5 inches at the top. You may begin. And take the ruler up to the top and go to 5 inches. Make sure it's lined up on the zero. We have the beginnings of a beautiful flag here, gang. And now what we're going to do is measure up 1 inch from the bottom. Take our ruler, our handy dandy ruler, and make sure the end is on the zero. And we just go up to 1 inch, and make a mark. And we do the exact same thing on the other side. We take our handy dandy ruler and go up 1 inch, make a mark. And just as easy as that, we are going to connect those two lines, and this is going to be the bottom of our very first bar on our Washington, D.C. flag. Showing good citizenship, it is important for us to know the flag of Washington, D.C. Once again, we're going to connect the dots from our measurements from 5 inches to 5 inches, and we'll cut off the excess. You may begin. And cut off the excess. Yay! We've got the basic shape of our flag, which is 5 inches by 8 inches. Now it is time for us to rock and roll and make it look like the Washington flag. We're going to add just a little bit more to our math journal. On the next page, we are going to make a straight line. And let's just give it a name. We'll just call it line. N-E. And in Spanish, it's línea. Okay, we have one straight line. We're going to make another straight line to make our first bar. So measuring from the bottom of, measuring from the uh, the top of the first bar, we're going to measure 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch is directly in the middle between 0 and 1. It's right in the middle between 0 and 1. We'll make a line, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. And we're going to connect those to make a parallel line to our first line, which will create our first bar. Yay! We have two lines that are parallel. Parallel means that they do not touch, they're equal distant from any point. They do not touch, they're just one pretty much on top of the other. And that is our first parallel line. And just to save time, we're going to go ahead and color this first bar red. Okay, let's go ahead and color our bar red. And I'm just going to use a marker. You can use markers, crayons, or color pencils. Or even if you have watercolors at home, that would be an awesome way to color it in as well. Our first bar is complete. Okay, Sydney's going to help me measure up a half an inch from the bottom bar, from the top of the bottom bar. She's going to measure up a half an inch. And remember, half is right in the middle of 0 and 1. And she's going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now she's going to connect those 2 points to make the bottom of the top bar on the Washington, D.C. flag. We are making another parallel line, and we're just going to measure up a half an inch from this to make the top of the top bar. And she's going to connect those two. And voila, we have our second bar. We're going to go ahead and color that in really quickly. Making sure to color in the sides as well, making sure it's nice and neat. Now that we have our two bars are parallel, and that is our next math vocabulary word. Let's add it to our math journal. Okay, in our math journal, we already have the word line and linear. Now we're going to make the word parallel. Remember, parallel lines are lines that are equally distant or equidistant. So they're just two lines that have the same amount of space between them. Okay, and this is the way we spell parallel. P A R A L L E, and in Spanish, parallel. And in Spanish, it's paralelo. 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 Last but certainly not least, we need to make 3 stars to finish up the Washington, D.C. flag. So I'll just make 1. The second star should be directly in the middle. 2. And 3. And all I have to do is just color them up and we will be finished. So here we go. And yay, we have finished our Washington, D.C. flag. The Washington, D.C. flag, we first started with a rectangle that was 8 inches by 5 inches. We made lines, straight lines, and we used those straight lines to make parallel lines. Last but not least, we added 3 stars. And this is the flag of Washington, D.C. We must know our flag in order to be good citizens of the District of Columbia.